traditional car maker, Ford, now looking for new ways to be the leader of a totally new area, sharing economy?
Yeah, so it's exciting to us. We basically believe that in the next 5 to 10 years, probably more like 5 years, all the major automotive industry companies will undergo a massive transformation. The rise of cars as a service and transportation as a service instead of cars as a physical purchase, aided but not exclusively around new forms of autonomous or semi-autonomous vehicles, and the fact that the percentage of people who buy and own a private car will fall. Bicycles are somewhat similar. We know that 96% of the time in America, cars sit idle, and about 98% of the time, bikes sit idle. So it's a massively inefficient use of capital not to have sharing. Ford wants to show that, like Didi in China or Ola in India, it's innovative and it can offer services of every type for mobility. They want to be your partner for every type of vehicle-based movement, and that's why shuttle buses and bikes are important and will be more important next month, next year, and next decade.
I see, Mr. Chuffart, of course, that's a wonderful thing to have these kind of imagination, but the thing is, how long will that be realized? Our traditional automakers rather have this advantage over the others?
I don't think they have a disadvantage. I think actually they have the advantage to know how to make a car. Some years ago, some say, oh no, because there's going to be new technology, they will not be able to adapt fast enough. Maybe because in the past a couple of decades ago, some EV cars got stopped in a very sudden way by the car maker. This kind of example that did not put a good spotlight on the innovation from the car maker. They try to slow down innovation, we could say that. But here it seems that Ford is really trying to break new grounds, very much like they did 100 years ago when they say, no, everybody thinks cars is a luxury, we think cars are going to be for everybody. And now it looks like they are looking at car as something very in a holistic manner. It is for everybody, it's very democratic.
Right.
Let's look at every people down to the one on the bicycle. Let's look at transportation in general. And I think that approach is very, very interesting because it may not be a car as what we know.
Well, interesting might be, but will that be successful? Professor Wolff, let me come back to you. Will there arose, Ford, of being a traditional car maker, going to be a huge advantage for them or actually a big disadvantage for them when it comes to this business model? And by the way, there's not yet a successful business model. Many of those sharing economy business models are not really earning money. All they have to do now is go IPO and therefore got some money, continue to run. So is it going to be sustainable for companies like Ford?
So it's a great question. We have seen the independent sort of car sharing companies really struggle. So the most famous being Uber here in the US or much of the world. And what Uber's proved really good at is boasting and using other people's money. What they haven't proved so good at so far is breaking even or making any money. And the verdict is still not in. They could become good at that. And they're sitting at a $70 billion valuation. So certainly their investors hope so, or have bet quite a bit of money on them making that transition. But you're right, they may never make it. And one of Ford's challenges is they are a really globally well-known brand for making cars. They're not known for necessarily being a software company. And part of what they're going to need to be is a software company as well as a manufacturer. Do you think they have a big advantage in making cars and making what the public wants globally? But it looks to us like the next generation of transportation. When cars become a service, not a big expenditure, people will care a lot less about the interstices of the vehicle. Think about how little most people care about the car that gives them a ride to the airport versus the car in their garage, which is a major capital investment for them as well. So it's going to be a challenge. We do think companies like Mercedes, Ford, BMW are in a good position to win, but it's very much unclear what they would win or how quickly they can beat off some of the major competition here, which includes companies like Apple and Google, which certainly have good records as well.
The other thing, of course, is about the bike sharing. How much of an alternative is it really going to provide to this what we call shared economy when it comes to transportation? There has been a few numbers that we can tap into. A bike sharing boom over the world over the past decade. 11 cities worldwide has such programs so far, though, in 2004. But by the end of last year, there were more than 1,000 public bike sharing schemes in over 50 countries. China, of course, is the leader in the sheer number of bicycles. That has been a big tradition with this country, with 3 out of 4 of the world's shared bikes. Chinese are used to riding bikes, but now they're used to sitting on the driver's seat. So let me go to you, Mr. Chuffart. This is a development stage issue?
I think that the success of the bicycle here is, for sure, there is a history related to them, but I think, in fact, it's the new generation that is embracing this. And I think the trend is increasing at the same rate as the fitness centers are opening.
Well, Mr. Wolff, or Professor Wolff, what do you say?
Yeah, so obviously fitness is part of it, but we also think that environmental policy and air pollution issues are a major push behind bicycles, especially until we can get to a more electric and sustainable vehicle population. So obviously it's also going to be urban planning. One of the things we've forgotten and we're relearning is if we don't need to make so much space for our cars with garages and parking lots and wide roads, the lived space in cities, which is very expensive, becomes much more open and much more hospitable. And we should keep in mind, we do, just in the United States, have 40,000 serious injuries a year. 95% of them are driver error.
Wow.
Bicycle does help you with that as well.